What's up YouTube, JM Comics here, and I just saw Thor Love and Thunder last night, so here's my review of it. And before we start, remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder, and as a whole, Marvel Phase 4, which has been quite disappointing me lately. And let's just say this movie is in line with everything else in Phase 4, besides No Way Home. Okay, so I don't know how to tackle this video because there's so much to talk about, but I guess we'll just take it topic by topic and start with Thor himself. I think Thor is still a pretty great character. I think the only time I really did not like him was in Endgame. Even in the older movies, like the old movies like The Avengers, the original Thor in the Dark World, he was still a pretty good character. With Endgame, I didn't like how Thor was made like a joke. I understand that he was depressed and got obese because of it, and I feel like they could have tackled that in a way more nuanced way instead of just like making jokes about it the whole time. I mean, a few jokes is fine, but maybe get to the root of his problems, I don't know, it just felt so out of character. Especially considering Infinity War, where he was like the most OP character in the entire movie. So yeah, it was nice to see him back to his fit shape, and his charisma and confidence were back. And yeah, he was still Thor. You know, the Thor we know from Ragnarok, like, a pretty good character. And I do kind of dislike how they recycle this plotline that they use in every movie, where he wants to go on a journey of self-discovery. He does this like every movie he appears in. He did in Age of Ultron, he did it in Ragnarok, he did in Infinity War, Endgame, and now this. So, well, not really Endgame, but you get what I'm trying to say. He's always trying to find his identity, and this is another case of that. And I do like the way this movie ends with Thor, and I'll get to that later. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth is as good here as he always is, and his biceps are huge, so they're just worth mentioning here. The next main character in this movie is Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman. And I didn't like her in Thor or for The Dark World, but in this movie she was actually pretty good. I think Natalie Portman did a great job, and the character was actually well written, which I did not expect. And I really thought they were setting up this character to replace Thor, and I'm gonna go and say spoiler warnings right now. Okay, good, spoiler warnings. So, Jane Foster died at the end, as you guys know if you've seen the movie. I'm assuming you've seen the movie if you stayed after the spoiler warning. And I really liked the way they killed her off. I felt it was really emotional and it was true to the comic source material. And I really thought they were trying to replace Thor with Jane Foster, but now that I see they're not doing that, that they weren't doing that, I think they did a really great job tackling this character. And it was really nuanced, and I like how she and Thor got back together, even if it was a short-lived reunion. Let's talk about a few more characters. Valkyrie was pretty good. I mean, she didn't really have anything to do in this movie. Like, she was a sidekick character, but she didn't really have her own plotline all too much. I mean, they kind of set up her as like the leader of Asgard, New Asgard or whatever, at the beginning of the movie, but they never paid off this plotline about her being tired of her position. I think she quit her position. I can't tell because they kind of just got rid of her after she got injured, which was very random for the movie to do. But hey, Valkyrie was still pretty good in it. And then Korg was as funny as ever. I kind of wish they killed him off at that point where they appeared to kill him off near the middle of the movie. Because there's no reason to keep him around. There are already so many funny characters in this movie. I saw that on a review online. There are so many comedic characters, you don't need to keep them all around. Well, might as well have just killed Korg off right there. Because he doesn't really have all too much to do. With the way this movie ends with him finding a mate, I really don't think he'll be back in a prominent role anytime soon. Unless Thor gets another movie. So yeah, I feel like they should have killed him off for more stakes. And it would have made Zeus and Thor's rivalry even better. For whatever the next movie is going to be. And our final character I'm going to talk about in detail is Gore the God Butcher. And I think he was actually pretty good. Like, he was probably the best part of... yeah, he was possibly the best part of this movie. I like Jane Foster's character and I liked him a lot. Like, I really feel like they well-developed him. They well-developed him, but they didn't give him much to do. And it's hard to design. It's not like the comic book version, but I understand because the comic book version looks like Voldemort. So it's a fair change. And his motivation at the beginning, like the beginning is kind of sad. It's like such a dark and sad scene to watch. And the way his daughter died and the way he found out about, yeah. That was just really dark. So I will say I like that aspect of this movie. Gore the God Butcher being so dark. It does create some tonal problems with the rest of the movie. I'll get to that. But I just feel like he's a well-written villain who goes through a character arc and in the end ends up turning over a new leaf, sort of. Redeeming himself and dying with that. One thing I will say about him that does bug me, we didn't really see him butcher any gods. We saw him butcher the god at the beginning when he first got the Necro Sword. Necromancer, Necro, whatever it is. But he hasn't done anything. Like, we didn't watch him slaughter anyone. and that really sucked. Okay, like there was the whole scene where it was like, oh my gosh, we have so much signals of gods getting slayed, but we never saw them get slayed by Gore. So what was the point of that? Nothing. So yeah, that part kind of sucked to me. I really feel like we could have spent more time with him. Here's the problem with a lot of villains and just movies in general. I like it when I get to see the villain by himself or by herself and see what they're thinking and how they feel, instead of only seeing the villain whenever other characters are on screen. And besides the beginning, which, yeah, I guess the beginning, we don't really see Gore by himself, like thinking over his actions and the consequences of what he's done. We only see him with other characters in scenes, so it's not as powerful as it could have been. Still, Christian Bale did a great job, and I feel like they definitely hampered back what he wanted, because he wanted to be more involved in this movie. Okay, so another character, I'm gonna just wrap it up with this character, is Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. And man, you couldn't tell it was Russell Crowe under all that makeup and stuff. So he did a pretty good job as Zeus. I think he was probably, yeah, I already said Gore and Jane Foster are my favorite characters. It was probably actually Zeus. This was so entertaining and just stupid. And a really good contrast to Thor, who used to be a dumb blonde, but, you know, became smart. Not smart, but like, somewhat intelligent. And now, this guy is actually just a really dumb god. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And when I thought they killed him off, I was like, that was such a waste of a character. Thank God they didn't. And he's coming back in presumably the next Thor movie. I don't know, we'll see. Let's talk about the actual movie itself and the problems that it arises. And first off, the tone is all over the place, and I think it's especially the fault of Taika Waititi getting too much creative freedom this time. I'm pretty sure Taika Waititi did not write for Ragnarok. I know he directed it, but he did not write it. I think he wrote this movie, and that's why it's so, like, over the top and overblown and comedic for no reason. Like, the thing is, I don't think it's really that funny. It's not like there's a bunch of jokes in the movie. It's just like everything feels like they're trying to set up a joke. Everything feels so unreal and inconsistent with the greater Marvel universe. Like Thor doing that weird split at the beginning of the movie. It's not something we expect from this franchise. It's so Looney Tunes, cartoonish. Something you'd see Deadpool do maybe, but not Thor. And it really took Ragnarok to the next level in all the wrong ways. And another big problem with this movie for me, I feel like, is the message. I don't understand what it's trying to go for here, because at the beginning, when we have Christian Bale's character, Gore, go through that terrible like realization that his god isn't real, or his god doesn't really care about his people, his followers. Do you feel like they're setting up nihilism as like a theme, like exploring the belief in nothing or the belief in false gods, or stuff like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Idolatry or something. They're trying to set up like an actual theme here, but they never really follow through with their theme. Like, it just feels so sacrilegious, the entire like message behind it, because they don't actually develop it in any meaningful way that adds any layers to it. There's no layers. Okay, it's not like an onion. There's no layers. They're literally just saying. They're just promoting the belief in nothing with no actual meat behind that message. So I didn't really like the theme. And another thing I didn't like was the villainous army. They were just a bunch of like spider things. I can't remember what they were. Just spiders, pretty much shadow spiders. And the problem is, I'm pretty sure they were supposed to be symbiotes, but because of Sony and Venom, they couldn't end up using symbiotes, which would have been actually pretty cool. If it was symbiotes, I'd like it. But alas, we did not get that. We got random shadow monsters. And also, the Shadow Realm thing was kind of funny because it reminded me of Jimmy Neutron. The Jimmy Neutron meme where he's like, send them to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo. So yeah, whatever. Something like that. The goat joke that they kept like playing where ghosts would scream felt so dated and just kind of... It was funny the first time. It was funny the second time and the third time. But like by the 17th time, wasn't that funny. Okay, like... Lots of these jokes are just running gags. And they're not that... Like, they're not really funny. The most funny joke in this movie is probably you should go see a dentist when Thor tells Gore that. And also the constant running gag where Mjolnir and Stormbreaker are jealous of each other, or Stormbreaker jealous of Mjolnir. That was actually funny. But a lot of the jokes in this movie, the running gags, aren't that funny. Like, they just feel random and like we don't need them. We don't need running gags for a movie to be funny. One of the great things about Ragnarok, I feel, was every joke felt kind of original and unique. They weren't trying to repeat jokes. The closest thing to a running gag was Bruce Banner trying to turn into the Hulk and it not working. But it was actually set up for Hulk actually coming out at the end. So, it was pretty much like... not really a joke at that point. It was a running joke. Everything in this movie, every running joke does not land. And Ragnarok proved that a 4 movie can survive on just original jokes. So I don't know why I didn't just go with original jokes all the way through. But yeah, the only running gag I liked was the Stormbreaker one, and that was about it. So let's talk about I already talked about the tone a little bit. Well, I'm just gonna add I feel like Taika Waititi needs a break. Like, I saw a YouTube thumbnail about this, like a YouTube video about this. Taika Waititi has been doing so many movies lately, and he's losing his charm for me. Okay, James Gunn stays consistently good, but Taika Waititi, this is not working. Okay, just stop. Just get yourself some help, and then come back to the industry when you've refreshed your mind. Because I feel like the comedy in this movie just feels so underbaked, and the entire message feels so underbaked, and it just kind of feels pointless. And I forgot to talk about the worst scene in the movie. I'm about to get to it. The final scene where there's a bunch of children with powers, because apparently Thor now has the power to give children powers. It's so dumb. And I was cringing the entire time. I was covering my face and cringing. Okay? I got more laughs in seeing the Minions, The Rise of Groot, than seeing this. So yeah, that final scene just really killed me. I couldn't even watch. I was covering my eyes. And then I just started talking to my sister next to me and not paying attention to the movie. We were just making fun of it at that point. Because it was so bad. It was trash, okay? And yeah, I know it's taking a more negative turn than I started off with. But like, the more I think about it, the less I like this movie. It's not that good. It's just so unoriginal, I guess. It's just taking things to the next level for no reason. It's unoriginal. The theme doesn't make a lot of sense. The tone is very off. And even the darker moments, like Jane Foster's cancer and Gore's origin story, feel undercut by the entire movie being a joke. And I guess we'll talk about the after credit scenes, because there's not really much else to talk about. This movie was pretty bad. So after credit scenes, the first one is Hercules. Zeus recruiting Hercules to stop Thor, and I kind of like that because Hercules is part of the Thunderbolts, I'm pretty sure. So we could see him as a part of the Thunderbolts as the counterpart to Thor. I'd really like that, and I think that'd be a cool addition to the MCU. And the second after credit scene is just Natalie Portman seeing Idris Elba as Heimdall in Valhalla. Pretty cool, I guess. But one thing I would have liked is if Loki, Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, appeared over there too. Because Loki died basically in the exact same way as Heimdall. So, might as well have him there too. But yeah, whatever. It's the first Thor movie without Loki. And maybe the lack of Loki is what bothers me about this movie. Because right now, I still think it's better than The Dark World. But give me some time and I might like The Dark World better. So, yeah, it is only barely above The Dark World right now for me. Because, yeah, The Dark World was boring, but it just had a sense of grandeur to it. This movie just feels like a joke. And I think one of my friends told me this. It's like a constant flurry of Saturday Night Live sketches. And that's exactly what it feels like. The main plot is very flimsy and it just feels empty. I do like the ending of the movie though. I forgot to talk about this, where Thor adopts Love, which is Gore's daughter. I feel like that's a cool way to have a resolution to Gore's story, and it's a cool way to actually have Thor mentoring someone, because I feel like that's where this movie was gonna go with Jane, but it's going that way with Love. I like that. So she's probably gonna join the Young Avengers. Yeah. And something else that bothered me about this movie was how pedestrian it felt. Like the interior of Valkyrie's ship was literally just a normal human bathroom. Like everything in this movie felt too modern day for a Thor movie. The kids were all wearing, like the kids that he gave powers to or whatever that were captured by Gore, they were all wearing modern day clothing. It's just really stupid and out of place for a Thor movie. And then New Asgard itself just bothers me, this aesthetic. Like New Asgard just looks like a normal place on Earth, because it is. I really don't like that. So yeah, if I had to give it a ranking on the quality scale, I'd give it a 4 out of 10 score. In terms of entertainment, I'd give it a B, a solid just B. I was entertained at the beginning, at the end, but near the middle, I just tuned out. Besides Zeus' scene, and when there were little kids getting powers, I was just cringing the whole time. So it's definitely a B. It can hold your attention, and it's a 4 because there are good visuals, there are good things happening in this movie, but for the most part, it's a lot of trash and shallow stuff. And if that being said, I would not recommend seeing it in theaters. Wait till it comes to streaming. And if you didn't like Ragnarok, don't bother with this movie. And this is coming from someone who loved Ragnarok, okay? It's probably my favorite Marvel movie, and this is such a letdown. So with that being said, remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this movie and Phase 4. JM Comics out.